So where do I start this one? It's been a week, to say the least. If any of you saw the last videos that I posted on the Alpha M channel, you kind of know what's going on. The lawsuit, like I mentioned last week, I gave an update. I settled. I can't go into the details of the settlement. That was part of the agreement. But basically, it was, they dismissed the case because I basically paid them. And if you missed the video that I did talking about kind of why and the reasons, I encourage you to go watch that video. And just for the record, the support that I got in that video was amazing. I was scared to talk about it, and I was scared to admit that I didn't do what I said at the beginning I was going to do, which was I was going to fight to the end, and it didn't matter how much money it was going to cost me, I was going to fight it. And I ended up having a change of heart because of something that my grandfather said to me. He said, "Aaron, you can feed your ego or your family." And when it came down to it, do I really want to commit, possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of my life to this thing, or should I just basically settle it and move on? And so there was some negotiations with the attorney for Mr. Darnell Williams, and I ended up saying, you know what, if they settle for this or they take this, then we can be done and we will all move on. And so I did, and I was really nervous to basically admit that, but the support and the comments and the, you know what, you did the right thing, I was shocked at how many people came out and just said, you have the right to change your mind, and you did what was right. And so it just really felt great. It was incredible to see the support, and so thank you so much. Also, the support that I got from the Empire kit that I offered, which was a bold shampoo, a sea salt spray, and a texture powder for $20, which I will also link to down below if you want to grab it to support me or this channel, or just you think I'm cool and you want some great hair product, I would highly recommend going and grabbing it. And also, I just want to say thank you because a lot of you guys did, and it helps. Anyway, for those of you who saw the video I posted yesterday, the 6-minute long sobbing that I did, for some reason I thought it'd be a good idea to basically come on and talk about something, one of the, if not the, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And that is put down my sweet, precious soulmate of a cat, Piglet, that I've had for 17 years. She was my girl, I was her person, and we had a connection. And I know that if you don't have an animal, you probably don't understand why I would be so upset, but it was, and it's still, because I had to put her down yesterday, I feel like a piece of me is missing, and I don't want to cry today. I've been crying so much that I actually, here's a funny story. Funny, kinda, not funny. Yesterday morning when I woke up, so I filmed that video on Wednesday. And I was like, okay, I'm having to deal with this. I wanted to talk about it. And so I filmed the video, and I was just a blubbering mess. The next day, yesterday, was the day that the company was coming over to the house to actually put her down. And when I woke up yesterday morning, I was crying so much the day before from filming that video, and just every time I would think about it, I would start just like falling apart. I was a wreck, like complete wreck. I ended up waking up yesterday morning and my eyelid was swollen. It was painful and it was swollen. I literally looked like I had like a sleepy eye. And so I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I ended up going to urgent care at like 8 in the morning and just being like, I don't know what's going on. This probably has something to do with the fact that I was crying all day yesterday and probably rubbing my eye and hurt myself. But yeah, I got some drops. I thought maybe it's that, or it was like something else going on with my eyelid. But it's starting to get a little bit better and the swelling has gone down. And anyway, it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. And yeah, like I said, I'm still not over it. And hopefully this gets easier. But it's so painful when you lose an animal. And as my mom has said, they only hurt you one time. But my God, this hurt for, I think, like I've put other animals down before, but she was like my person. Like if I could give my kidneys to keep her alive. Like I would have done anything. But one of the things you have to realize when it comes to having an animal that you love is you've got to know when it's time to just, call it. Even though every ounce of your soul and being is saying, no, just hold on, like you don't want to do it. Like just if I can have another day, if I can have another week, if I could have another, like whatever, like, the animal will let you know, like, okay, it's time. And so for me and Piglet, it was time. And so I had to do what was right as opposed to what I wanted to do, which was cryo chamber, like cloning, like anyway. So it was horrible. But, yeah. Anyway, so I've had a fucking horrible week, if you can't tell. It's just been a week, man. But this too shall pass. And, as you mourn, whether or not it's a person or an animal or anything that you love, an end of a relationship, like whatever, time makes it easier. And so, yeah. I'm waiting for time to happen, though, because it's been really hard. But something that I'm excited about is your questions. So for those of you who didn't know that we changed kind of like the format of these videos, here's how it's going to work. We're coming on each week. I'm going to talk a little bit, but then I'm getting to your specific questions. Business questions, personal questions, it doesn't really matter. All right, so down below, if you've got one, start it with question and then ask your question. It can be about your business. It can be about my philosophy on life. It can be on anything. Last week, there were a crap ton of questions, and so I'd like to get to some of them now. I'm not going to get to all of them, but I'm going to get to the ones that I didn't get to, hopefully, next week. Hopefully. Gentlemen, down below, let me know. If you've got a question, start it with question and ask it now, your questions. So the first business question comes from my boy Ethan, who I met last week at the Salon. He came in, him and his wife, the Salon Posta. If you watched last week's vlog, at the end of it, I did talk about something that Ethan and I had a conversation about, and it was basically about motivation versus drive and the difference. And so Ethan actually posted a question. He says, how do you develop a team with attitudes, teamwork, work ethic, and skills that are so great that they create a product and experience you're proud to put your name on? All right, building an effective and synergistic team. And for the record, Ethan and his wife have some insurance agencies in Alabama. Maybe Montgomery. I could have butchered that. Anyway, he says, building an effective and synergistic team is the hardest and most rewarding part of being a business owner. My wife and I had lunch at Bottega after our appointments and meeting you at Salon Posta on Friday. We're so encouraged by the amount of heart that filled those professionals and places that represent you. The experience, the staff, and the end products were the epitome of excellence. The best customer experience we have had in ages. We wish we could bottle it and take some of that back to our business. So I don't have an answer for you with that, but I will say this. Culture is important in any business, and you are the one as the founder, as the owner, that is setting the framework for the culture. When you hire, it's critical that you only bring people in that you feel are going to match not necessarily your passion or your enthusiasm, because you're the business owner and nobody is going to basically do it as well as you, but you can tell, right? And the other thing you can tell is when you make a bad hire, it can literally ruin the morale of the entire thing. It's like the turd in the punch bowl type of scenario, right? The punch could be great, but one turd and the whole thing is tainted and ruined, all right? And throughout my career, I have had to make some hard decisions. There have been people that just weren't the right fit. They didn't bring that experience. They didn't bring really what we needed them to bring to the table. And once that starts to take hold and there is somebody there that's not a right fit, it can literally ruin the entire environment. You've got to remove them as quickly as possible. But hiring, I would say that is the number one thing you've got to kind of just really focus on, because they are your employees, your team. They are the front lines. They are the ones that are going to make your business successful or not, honestly. It's not you. You can't do it by yourself. And so you've got to make sure that you pay people well, that you train them as well as you can. you incentivize them, and they feel like you've got their back. And that's something else that I just want to say, like Pete and Pedro, right? The small team that we have at Pete and Pedro, every single person there knows that I've got their back. And so when you do this and when you align your goals with your team, meaning like, hey, if we're successful, you're going to be successful, everybody then has a little bit of skin in the game. And when you can blend and marry those two scenarios, that's really when the magic happens. And that's really when, you know, the service is excellent and the experience is amazing. But really, it boils down to hiring right and making sure that these people have everything that they need in order to execute your dream, your vision as well as possible. But you got to hire great people. But great question, and it was also amazing meeting you. Next question is from Johnny V. Lewis. He says, what is the best way for a niche service industry, interior decorating, to garner new business, to get more clients, work down the pipeline, etc.? So here's the deal. I do have some experience with interior decorators. I've used 3 in my life. All right, the first person was kind of like asking my stylish sister to help me. The second person was like your professional aunt. All right, little higher end, little more of a business mind, right? Because she's been doing it a while. And then the third lady I hired, Kelly Wolf, was just like I outkicked my coverage. Like she was way more than I should have hired, honestly. But she's crushing it on a level that is hard to believe. Anyway, what I would say if you are in that space is networking, right? One of the things that you will learn is once you connect with, you know, the builders, the architects, like those are the people that you really need to be networking with. Because they're going to be, you know, honestly, the builders, in my opinion, it's not even the architects, it's really builders. If there are small builders or big builders or builders in your area, I would definitely start networking with them. Architects also are another thing, or person or place that you can start as well, because when you are building custom homes, and that's something else, custom home builders are going to be your best solution or option. And the reason is pretty simple, is because when you're building a custom house, you have to make every decision. And so, you know, a lot of times that is one of the issues that holds up the building process, is when the homeowner tries to do it themselves, or they don't have somebody that is assisting them picking and selecting the different things like the floors and the tiles and the things of that nature. So for me, I would start a social media account. I would post pictures and you know, inspiration photos. And basically then I would start networking with the builders, honestly. And you can sometimes work out some type of like referral fee or whatever, but that's probably where I personally would start. The next question is from Wealthy Medi. He says, hey Aaron, tell me everything about how to build a huge profitable salon business. Don't start a salon business if you're wanting to make a huge profitable business. Salons are hard. The profit margin isn't amazing. At Salon Posta, we've got a big salon, right? Lots of staff, lots of, you know, beautiful heads going in and out of that place. Every single person that works for us is an employee, which is very different than a lot of places like barbershops and things of that nature that basically are renting chairs. But there are reasons to do it where they are actually employees of the company. But, you know, the bottom line is the profit margin isn't super great in hair. Even though that sounds a little bit crazy, if you're building a big business, you're going to have a lot of assistants, all right? They're not generating money a lot of times. Something else is the hair color. It's really expensive. In e-commerce or direct-to-consumer businesses, you know, one of the big line items is shipping cost. It's unsexy and it's expensive. Hair color is another one of those like unsexy, really expensive things that basically whacks your profit margin, even though you're charging for color and all that stuff. The salon industry is a great business, but there are a lot of moving parts, and it is definitely not the business I would recommend going into if you are wanting to basically make as much money as you can. It's really hard. And even though like Salon Posta is one of probably the top salons, definitely in Georgia and in the country, maybe I would say, even though we do a nice bit of revenue top line, it's hard because of all the staff, because of all the things, because of all the things that go into making that the experience that it is, right? Rent and all that good stuff. You know, the electricity bill at our salon is outrageous, but there are definitely more profitable industries and businesses. If you are wanting to get into like the hair world, I would look into something maybe DTC, maybe hair products, or selling some type of online curriculum. I think that is going to be a lot easier in order to start, but also a lot easier to scale. And there is more potential upside in my experience and from basically like my experience, which is a lot. All right, but good question. Next question from Porsche Tyru Yi. Sorry for butchering your name, brother. Love you. Thanks for being here. How many suppliers did you approach when you started Pete and Pedro? And how many should I approach and test samples? I approached 6 different manufacturers when I started Pete and Pedro. All right, 6 different companies that did private label hair products. I got their products. I found one product line that I absolutely loved, and I went with them. Really, it boils down to you need to just, I guess, more than one, but you also don't want to just, keep getting samples and samples and samples and samples. If you find something that you really like and that you love that you think is going to be a great product or a great company to work with, then you don't need to go crazy. But I would say probably minimum 3. You also are going to have different requirements from these different vendors. And a lot of times the requirements can actually impact your decision-making process. Like if you go to a company and you're doing something custom, somebody might say, yeah, we can do a custom product or a custom shirt or whatever it is, but our minimum quantity is 1,000, where another one still going to make your thing, right? But it's 500, all right? Another one might be 10,000. And so you may not like the product as much from the one that offers the lower minimum order quantity, but it might be the one that you need to maybe start with and then adjust and grow over time. And so you also need to make sure that they're going to be able to deliver when they say they're going to be delivering the product. You've just got to really make sure that they are going to be a good partner. And really, when you're starting out, it is going to be a little bit of luck, right? You've got to test. You've got to go with who you think is going to be responsive. And another thing, if they're not very responsive to you, like you've got to email them 6 times to get a response, chances are that is going to be the way they are the entire relationship, all right? Vendors are very similar to like girlfriends, boyfriends, or spouses. It is a relationship. They've got to be there for you when things are hard or when you have an issue. They also have to be somebody that you can work with when an issue or situation arises, because they always arise. The next question I don't understand, from Daniel Sir BU6706. Question: when will we get oiled, Aaron? I don't even know what that means. If you're talking about Boost, the hair growth oil, I just want to show you something real quick. I just got from one of our clients who sent us like progress pictures. Boom, check it. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Actually, let me grab some. Boost, baby. Are you kidding me? The natural hair growth oil. Are you kidding me? I just can't even I got this the other day. I almost started crying. I actually probably did start crying because I've been crying a lot lately. And it was so incredible, all right? And that's another business kind of lesson I'd just like to give you guys. Anytime you have a product or a service or whatever, and you can show in an instant or a picture the before and after or the result that somebody's going to get based on using your product, that is where the magic happens, all right? T. Shanley has acne, right? Showing like a before and after, like acne, clear skin, like powerful, all right? The hair growth oil, are you kidding me? 30, 60, 90 days? My God, super powerful, which is why we're selling so much of this stuff. Anyway, next question. Where are we going next? Let's see. Okay. Matthew Musgrove 5693. How would you compare starting a business versus buying an existing business to scale and sell? Pros, cons, barriers of entry. Love the content. Keep up the great work. So I don't know, honestly. I've never bought a business. Everything I've ever done has been me, basically breaking rocks and trying to figure out how to do things. Now, I know people that have bought businesses. I've also never sold a business. And so someday I hope to sell T. Shanley for millions and millions of dollars, but I haven't done it yet. Now, one of the things that I do at night is I will look on a website called LoopNet, all right? I will search like LoopNet, my town, Marietta, Georgia, whatever, and I will look for what businesses are for sale because people are always selling businesses. They might just be tired of it or whatever. And there was a pizzeria that I saw that I was like, damn, like they make, and it shows like what their numbers are and this and that. And I'm like, hey, do I want to be in the pizza business? I'm like, no, I'd be 300 pounds if I was. I saw a car wash for sale. Like, I like the idea. And the reason why it's beneficial to buy an existing business is you've got existing customers, all right? You're not starting from zero. You also have a proven model. You've also got a roadmap, or I should say an instruction book from the person that is selling it that will typically be on or still be like an employee of the company that you're buying for a period of time in order to train you or your staff, all right? And so it's amazing. Now, the downside, what is the downside? The downside is that it's expensive. A lot of times buying a business that is successful, or even if it's not successful, is going to require cash, right? Cash out of pocket. Now, once in a while, a business that really wants to get rid of it and is like, yo, I'm just done, will do owner financing. You don't pay, they get the business back. You pay on time, everything's cool and kosher, you own the business once you actually execute the payoff agreement. And so really it boils down to, what do you want to do? Are you somebody that is really interested in learning like everything from zero? Like, okay, I need to figure out everything. If you wanted to start a pizzeria, like I need to figure out how to make pizza. I've got to know, where to buy the ovens. I've got to know then, how to, train my staff that's going to be serving or making it. And then I'm going to have to figure out marketing. And like, do you want to do that? It's a longer road. It's a harder road. Or do you just want to take somebody else's business that's already done the legwork and the hard work, and they're just saying, hey, I'm ready to be done. Pay me 50 grand, 20 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, like whatever, and I will give you the keys to the business along with the roadmap. There's definitely positives in both scenarios. You've just got to figure out what is best for you, and you've got to choose a business that you feel you could really grow and do something with, in my opinion. Let me see. Here's a question. This is a good question. Okay, it's from our friend AnimaGod8780. Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this format? Do you like me answering business questions rapid fire? I hope you do, because I love it, honestly. Down below, say, yo, this is pretty awesome. I want to do this more because I love business and I love hearing myself talk, apparently. Anyway, he says, hey, Aaron, how do you validate an idea for a new business? I found a need that I do not feel is being met, and as many good business ideas begin, it is the intersection between my interest in it and my need for such a service. Thanks in advance. Okay, so basically, I think I butchered reading that, but, and then we're gonna do one more question, and then I'm gonna basically throw it to next week. If you have a business question, down below, start with question and ask it down below. So how do you validate an idea? Don't ask your mom. Don't ask your brother. Don't ask a friend that doesn't want to hurt your feelings. It's really one of those things where there's a great book that I'm going to just talk about real quick from my friend, Noah. Shit. That didn't work well. Anyway. A great book right here. I would recommend picking this up or listening to it. $1 Million Weekend. Basically, Noah talks about how to validate an idea literally within the span of a weekend to figure out if it has legs or if it doesn't, right? If you can't basically get somebody to say, yes, I will pay you, or to basically get them to, actually pay you, then it's probably not the greatest business. And so, yeah, you've got to, I would get this. Noah's smarter than me, and it's a great book. Let's see, is that, there's some more, there's a lot more. Oh, geez, AI, yes, let's see, last one. Question, do you think, Hold on. Do you think life feels so different? Okay. I don't even. Okay. Here's the last question from our friend Noke Spot 2235. He says, question: how should we balance substantial increase in income, 15 to 20%, which is good, with quality of life improvements, better apartment, nicer car, etc.? So this is an incredible question and something that everybody that starts to make more money struggles with. Some people struggle with it more. Some people, are able to get it in check. The one thing I will say to you is live below your means. All right? Always. And I know that it's hard though. I know it's hard because when you start to make a little more money, you're like, yo, okay, maybe I should treat myself a little bit more. The two areas that people spend and waste the most amount of money is where you live and what you drive. All right, you think, oh, I need to live in the nicer place, or I need, instead of a 2-bedroom, I'm just gonna get that 3-bedroom, or I'm gonna be on the top floor. And instead of that affordable car, which I don't even know, all cars are freaking expensive these days, I'm gonna get the nicer car, right? Here's the deal. The lower below your means you can live for the longer you can do it, you get what I'm saying? The more money you're gonna be able to basically do something with that's going to then eventually pay off to a point of, hey, like, look at what I've built and what I've created, right? It's all about what you value. It's all about what you really intend for your life and what you want it to look like. But if you can save and invest that 15 or 20%, or okay, call it 15%. If you're making 20, like if you can invest that for a year, all right, 2 years, like think about it. If you now are making, you were making $80,000 a year, now you're making 100, all right? It's not that much that, you're going to be able to like all of a sudden like buy a jet or anything like that. So, it's substantial though, but think about that. If you invest that 20,000, in a year, what's it going to be, right? Say, call it, 4% interest, you're going to have, more money. And then maybe you invest it in something that provides a little bit higher return. Like thinking more long-term and having the ability to delay gratification is something that is going to set you apart from most people. Because most people, here's what happens. You live here, you make this, you make more, you live here now. And then it just keeps going up. So you never ultimately end up getting ahead. You always are staying basically kind of broke because you refuse to stay here even when you're making more money. I am a firm believer you've got to live below your means. It is so incredibly critical to live below your means because once you start getting those bigger expenses, it's just more burden, right? And think about it like this, right? When you owe somebody, like whether or not it's rent or a car or a credit card, like you're making somebody else rich, right? What I would do with that extra money is pay down my debt, get out of debt, period. Like that for me is one of the most liberating things I have ever done. Because, when I started to make a little bit more money, I started to try to buy some real estate, assets that will appreciate. When I was looking at my statements, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm paying like $5,000 like to them just to have this loan. All right, I'm going to get this paid off as quickly as possible. And then it's paid off. And then let's do it again. And so by living below your means, paying off your debt, and trying to grow your liquid or your asset base, this is, in my opinion, much better than driving a nicer car. I promise you, nothing is better than having cash in the bank or investments, or you get what I'm saying. Guys, if you've got a business question or a question about life, down below, start it with question and ask it. Next week, more of them. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching me cry yesterday if you watched that video. And thank you for always being amazing. And if you haven't grabbed the Pete and Pedro deal, $20, $20, make you holla and sexy, sea salt spray, bold shampoo, texture powder. You can't lose. $20. Link below. You're awesome.